I'm Linda Barnicott, and I am a Pittsburgh artist. I do paintings of Kennywood and some of the local amusement parks around here, and also city scenes, landmarks, just trying to bring back memories for people who have lived here and those who call Pittsburgh home. If you'll notice, a lot of the paintings that I do are places that people have gone when they visited Pittsburgh. And that's because they're my memories. The very first, oh gosh, I can't remember how many paintings I painted, maybe 10, 12 paintings at least, were my own very personal memories of when I first came to Pittsburgh. I had a really nice relationship with Custom Corners Gallery. At the time, they're unfortunately out of business now, but they would let me sit at the end of their store and draw portraits, so I didn't have to pay mall space, which was good. The owner's husband came up and asked me if I would do a streetcar painting. Then I started putting together the idea of using Kaufmann's as the base for the background of the streetcar painting. I was new to Pittsburgh and I knew everybody met under Kaufmann's clock. So it was a perfect combination for me. I came down here on a very, very cold and snowy day so that I could take some pictures of what used to be Kaufmann's. The people in the painting were kind of just people I made up, but in the process of designing the piece, I wanted to take special attention to the display window. So I asked my husband to, hey, stand there like you're in the studio and just like putting up a wreath, in the window. In naming the piece, I was going to call it The Meeting Place. When I was talking to a fellow who ended up being my mentor, he says, nah, that doesn't do it for a title for a piece. And I says, but everybody says, I'll meet you under Kaufmann's clock. And he says, well, why don't you call it that? It was cute because I said, oh, that's a really long title, but I think that title sold half of the paintings. It was a moment when I saw it in the window of the gallery for the first time, and it was right next to a Nat Youngblood painting of Kaufmann's clock that he had done from a different angle. It was like really cool, So I felt very honored to be in the presence of another artist like that. So it was the nostalgia of Kaufmann's being such a big presence in the city of Pittsburgh, of it being the heart of Pittsburgh. And I have now done over 50 pieces in print, and I've painted Kaufmann's 3 times, all because they keep selling out, because I think everybody loves Kaufmann's, and I think Kaufmann's is also the heart and soul of Pittsburgh. I had done a few pieces of the 1960 bucks, Bill Mazeroski and Roberta Clemente. I had done a matching piece similar to the Bill Mazeroski piece, where it was a series of seven panels. One of the things I really wanted to do was I saw this portrait of him listening to the national anthem with his head bowed, and it showed a lot of emotion. So after I had done the bigger piece, I did the portrait as well. Pittsburgh is really a hometown. They really support and love their arts, their sports, the activities here in town. It was such an exciting event to have a new stadium here, a new baseball stadium here, not since Forbes Field. When I was painting my 3rd piece of artwork, I chose Wishing Under the Horns Tree. Now, you have to use your imagination. I mean, this is not wintertime, and there's no tree up there, and it isn't horns anymore. It's actually Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. It was a great place to bring children, and also people would come and gather, friends, family, come down and shop for that holiday season. I ended up putting people that I know in this painting. I had friends that were visiting from New Jersey, and I ended up putting them in, and my husband stood on the corner there. I looked a little bit like Dick Tracy until I calmed down the color to a nice tan instead of yellow. The first piece, I needed my husband to pose for me for that wreath. and he posed. And then the second piece was walking in the light of the cathedral. And I was actually doing a signing for that painting. Someone had said, "Where are you going to put your husband in your next piece?" And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I came home and I said, "You know what, Tom?" I said, "They're expecting you." And that's kind of how the tradition started, that my husband was in all my pieces.
Putting people in my paintings are very, very important and fun and kind of exciting.
It was really cute because I had a fellow in one of the windows, and later when the piece came out, he approached me at one of the galleries and said, "That's my office, you put me in the painting." A lot of times folks that are in my paintings are phone calls that I make like the week ahead of time. "Hey, can you pose for me?" And, "Are you available?" And if they're available, then they have the opportunity to be in the painting. For years, I had several people from our church, friends. My family has been in a couple of my pieces. My husband's family has been in a couple of my pieces. So yeah, I do have a lot of reoccurring people. It's kind of fun. In 1998, someone who worked for the American Cancer Society approached me about doing a card for the American Cancer Society's greeting cards. They had wanted a city scene, but I had already painted one, and I had already sold out of this piece, Wishing Under the Horns Tree. So I said, "Well, let me do another horns for you. I think it would sell very well." And we did one called A Holiday Tradition, because it really is a holiday tradition. I put a couple streetcars in it, one from Crafton, one from Carnegie. That piece, actually, the cards were all sold out by the first week in November.
The city of Pittsburgh has a grand view, and that view is helping the fight against cancer. The third annual holiday card for the American Cancer Society was unveiled today. It's called A Grand View of Pittsburgh, and it gives a view of the city's skyline from Grandview Avenue atop Mount Washington.
It's one of the first places that I saw when I met my husband. He took me up onto Mount Washington. And my experience on Mount Washington is going out on the mushrooms and the observation decks and looking over at the city. So when I painted this, I wanted to do more than just the view, which everybody sees from up there, but the experience of actually walking out on the observation decks and looking over. I had asked people several weeks before if they would meet me up on Grandview Avenue to pose for me. There was probably about 8 or 9 inches of snow up on the overlook, and I remember trotting through that snow for like 2.5 hours, up and down the overlook, looking for like the perfect view. It was cold. I mean, it looked like that snowstorm that I trotted through. Everybody was freezing, but it was so cool to do that piece. And I really wanted the experience of being up on Grandview Avenue and looking out and showing people your city, Southside Sparkles is another piece that was a lot of fun. I picked a Sunday morning, even though I was supposed to be in church that day. I picked Sunday morning because I figured it's the only time that maybe it wasn't hopping on the south side of Pittsburgh. I was wrong. There was still plenty of people, plenty of cars all around, and so it was challenging to try and get the bases of all the buildings because there were all these cars in front of them all the time. You know how you have your camera up and you're like looking around, taking pictures? It's kind of like this thing where you kind of look over here and there's a dog. And it's this beautiful St. Bernard. And the owner of the St. Bernard obviously was in Brigger's Bagels getting something, I went into my conversation. It's like, "Hi, I'm Linda Barnicott. I really love it if maybe you would consider you and your dog being in my painting." It would mean coming out in like July or, June or something like that. Well, July rolled around and several people asked if they could be in the painting. And I said, "Sure, just meet me down, at 18th and Carson Street at such and such a time, It was 90 degrees. It was the hottest day I'd ever posed anybody. And these poor folks had to stand long enough in winter coats, and they walked the 4 corners back and forth, and I took photographs. It was like so cool how everything really worked out. People were acting like they were really cold, and in reality they were sweating like crazy. And a lot of us stayed after and had ice cream afterwards. It was a lot of fun. It's not only the buildings that have changed in the paintings and have, some buildings that I've done have been torn down and, replaced by other things. But it's also the people, that are there. They have their little stories too.
you know, and it's kind of a neat thing. When I started doing the Pittsburgh scenes, the first experience I had was someone telling me a wonderful story about how, you know, this painting reminded him of something. That experience, when I came home, I told Tom, I says, you know what? I says, this is like doing a portrait for a lot of people. I could do one painting, like Meet Me Under Kaufman's Clock, and reach 1,000 people, or as of now, probably thousands and thousands of people. You know, and each piece that I've done of, you know, Kaufman's and Horns and Grant Street, to be able to do that and create such good memories. And that has been why I've been painting all these years.
Thank you.